That's right, law enforcement. It is Law Enforcement Appreciation Day today. So true.
I got on there too. We backed the.
All right, there we go.
Yep. So I've got more, but when more people come, I've got signs for them.
All right.
If they need it. Support our troops. That's why you see me with my American flag today.
That's right.
You see me with a different flag sometimes. So today it's my American flag.
Honk if you love America.
Yes, I do.
Honk, honk. And here we have, as we can see right there, David Greene for Congress. Very green today. Super green, as Chris Tucker would say.
Troops.
That's it. Especially today on Law Enforcement Appreciation Day.
And it looks like the vote in the House is going the wrong way. Mainly down party lines, though I did see a few Republicans vote for the resolution.
And what is this resolution about?
This is the War Powers Act to repeal it back to take the power away from Trump. To be able to react to the Iranian threat.
Gotcha. So are they trying to reel it back entirely all the way back to nothing unless Congress declares war?
Yes, that's what they're trying to do. Of course, it's dead in the Senate. It won't go anywhere. So it's just the Democrats continuing their partisan politics instead of supporting our troops while they're in harm's way. So we want to just come out and say today, support our troops. This isn't about politics. This is about the men and women who protect our freedom. Absolutely.
And you are a veteran, of course.
Yes.
As am I. So
spent a lot of time in that part of the country, so I know what it is and what they're going through and what it's like to have missiles coming in on top of it.
Yeah, over in the big sandbox, we like to call it.
Yep.
I was doing some math the other night when I posted some things, and I think I've put in just a little over 40 months over there.
I just recently have now spent more time in the United States than I spent there.
It's funny the way that works out.
Yeah. I would go over for 6 to 9 months at a time.
Yeah. What was your longest stint over there?
That was during Desert Storm. It was 13 and a half months.
That's a long one.
Yeah.
I did.
But it was pretty busy, so
I can imagine.
Flew by.
Yeah. When I did 16 months in Kuwait doing missile defense against the Persian threat, if you will.
Right.
It wasn't quite that busy. But went over to Afghanistan, and we got a taste of the rocket attacks and the mortar attacks and all that fun stuff.
I imagine Kuwait is pretty busy right now.
Oh yeah, they're jumping. They're on alert, and Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, all our GCC allies and friends, so to speak. Or at least that's what I hear from some people I still have contact with that are over there.
Yeah, I'm sure that their days are rather filled with things to do right now.
Yeah.
And that's why they need our support. Congress should not be undermining a president's authority. Everything about what he did with Soleimani was absolutely correct.
No.
The guy's has maimed and killed more Americans than probably anybody else alive. Of course, he's not alive anymore.
Right.
So Trump absolutely did the right thing. He did it within the confines of the law, so he acted lawfully. And for the Senate or for the House to be doing what they're doing today is just absolutely egregious.
Yeah.
We don't know how our representative here in the 5th District has voted, but I hope she has voted that she put aside partisan politics and voted with the troops.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure, also how she voted on this particular, issue or vote in the House, but here on the local level, I don't think the argument could be made that she doesn't support the troops. I think that's one of the few things that Republicans can at least agree with her on to a certain degree.
Well, we'll see today.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how the vote goes, but again, as far as constituent services and doing things for Tinker Air Force Base and retirees and part-timers, I think she sees eye to eye with most people on that.
So that's part of the job description.
Absolutely. And
so
we can't say she's shirking her responsibilities in that regard.
Right. And I wouldn't accuse her of shirking her responsibilities in that regard. But that's a lot different than undermining the security of the troops in the region by emboldening our enemy.
Yeah.
During Desert Storm, all of Congress was 100% behind us.
Mm-hmm.
And the nation spoke with unity. And that told Saddam Hussein that there were no cracks in our armor. And what the Democrats have done today is say, hey, look, we got a crack in our armor. And it's not because America does not stand united against terrorism. It's because they want to play partisan politics.
Yeah.
And you just don't play partisan politics with the lives of our troops.
Hear, hear.
That is a line in the sand that you just do not cross.
No.
And
Well,
the Democrats are crossing that today.
well, speaking of other lines that you shouldn't cross, these reports earlier in the week that the Pentagon officials came out basically saying that they were not going to do what the president said. And I can't get behind that, and I think they should keep the example of General MacArthur in mind and realize that they serve at the pleasure of the president and can be sent packing for that attitude.
Absolutely. I wasn't aware of that. What was that situation?
Well, you know, the nonsense about cultural sites. If it's within enemy territory, it's a target.
Well, that's always been part of our standard operating procedure, and I don't think that has changed.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't take out a mosque. We wouldn't take out a museum. That's not what we do. We've never done that. So
Yeah.
I don't see
Well, you know, I
where that's
don't see
coming
those things as being a primary military target, but I absolutely wouldn't say that they're off limits either.
Every time we've had combatants taking refuge in a mosque, we've just waited for them.
Yeah.
We've just waited them out.
We don't use the Israeli method of sending the bulldozers and smash everything flat.
So I don't know who those
Yeah.
Pentagon people were, but they should absolutely know better than that.
Oh yeah.
It just makes you wonder why would they say something like that?
Yeah.
You know, there's no cause for them to make a statement like that.
All right, and it is obviously something that the news media would latch on to, with the lack of objectivity we've had in our media for so many years now.
So, your time in the military, did you ever see the president specify a target?
Oh, of course not.
He specifies an objective.
Objective, not individual targets,
not
and even if
targets.
even if the president or whatever military commander higher up had specific targets in mind, you know, we'd hear about it in operational security and classification, and the general public's not going to hear about it.
Exactly. So, again, I don't know why they would make a statement like that. It's uncalled for and unprofessional.
Mm.
And we have the greatest military in the world. We have the greatest men and women in the military force in the world.
Oh, absolutely.
They serve beyond the call of duty. So I have full faith in the military.
Oh, yeah.
We need to support them.
Waving Old Glory.
Hey, I'm used to sometimes being alone, and I don't care. I'll stand alone if I have to.
Hey, minority of one, you know.
And
If you have to stand for something, it might as well be America.
yes, and you've heard me say it many times, that one voice can become many voices when we all become a voice.
That is so true.
And so, like I said, I'll walk alone if I have to.
Yeah.
And stand up for my country.
Now you know the lady with an office here, either she or most likely one of her representatives, one of her minions, will be having community office hours this evening, out at the for War Acres area. So you know, I don't know if you're planning to attend that or voice your concerns over there.
I did when she was at South oh, it wasn't Southmore, excuse me, South High School,
Mhm.
where the Crossroads Mall is at. I went there.
Oh, yeah, whatever that school is called.
And
Yeah, I remember
yeah.
that one. The one where they had the sign language interpreter and the
Yes.
Spanish translator
Yes.
that was just a complete waste of time and resources.
Yes, yeah, and so I went in on that one, and I have a feeling if they saw me walk in, that they probably would make sure my number doesn't get called again. That's what I would guess.
Well, you know, I don't think they would
I
do
would
that
hope
with their raffle system that they do to handle questions, which I think is a pretty cool and fair way that they handle that.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is. So I pretty much asked her what I wanted to ask at the last one, except for I failed to tell her that when I was talking about how was my voice heard, I failed to tell her that I've been to her office multiple times. I've emailed her office multiple times. I've even flown to Washington, D.C. twice to go to her office to try to talk to her.
Okay, that's
past
above and
year.
beyond. You've got me beat.
So when her response to me, when I asked her how my voice is heard, she was talking about emailing and going to her office. Well, I've done that multiple times.
Oh yeah.
So,
Well, she is a silver-tongued devil.
so anyway. So right now we're going to support our troops and our country, America. And right now our commander-in-chief is...
Our commander-in-chief.
Chief,
Is this
no,
a Cheeto joke?
Chief. Our commander-in-chief is President Donald J. Trump.
Absolutely.
So I
No.
will support him, and I will support the next president that's in office as well.
Yep.
So,
He said the flag touched the ground and they're supposed to touch the ground. So.
Well, that is true.
I'm a United States Marine Corps veteran. I know what I'm talking about.
Well, simplify, devil dog.
Do or die.
Yeah.
But the flag don't touch the ground.
It needs to be ceremoniously retired in that case.
It don't make a damn. It don't touch the ground.
thank
Well.
you for your service, sir.
Thank you,
Thank
man.
you for your service. Appreciate you so much.
Well, my apologies about getting angry. My apologies.
Thank you for your service.
Just passionate about America
Yes.
and the flag. That's important stuff.
Yes. Yes.
Take care, sir.
Wasn't aware that. That's why I keep it up on my hip.
Hoo-
That's why.
Hoorah!
That's why I'm keeping it up on my hip, because I don't want it to get too close to the ground.
Oh. Well, see, that's great. You know, some interaction with the citizenry. How are you, sir?
Well, it's hard to say. I may be the only one again.
Hmm.
Walking up and down like I did that one time when you saw me when the wonderful guy from, was it CARE?
Oh yes. Adam Sultani.
When I walked up and down in front of the
You know, he is super excited to be part of the U.S. Census effort here in Oklahoma City.
I'm sure he is.
Yes.
I'm sure he is.
Yes, they don't ask the question that he probably is concerned about on the census, which is a good thing. You know, they don't worry about religious affiliations, but you know, really they shouldn't ask anything other than alive, U.S. citizen,
Right.
gender perhaps,
But,
and that's it. That's all they should ask.
but right now they're trying to keep it so that we can't even answer if we are a citizen.
Yeah.
So,
You know, we need some constitutional changes in that regard. I think, you know, among other things.
I really agree, and I've agreed with you on that point for a long time. When I think I saw you post about contributions to campaigns, and I've thought the same thing for so long.
Oh yeah,
We
it's.
don't need out-of-state money and billionaires buying our elections here in Oklahoma.
Oh yeah, and you know, if we're going to complain about, you know, foreign influence from other countries, I mean, anything outside of the district or the constituency area is just as foreign. You know, Nebraska, New York, Minnesota, that's just as foreign as Russia, Peru, India, you name it. You know, trying to influence our political process.
And I agree 100% with that. So we need to, okay, somebody needs to go in and bring that to legislation and get that done, because we don't need our elections bought.
We don't.
We need to be able to have people from our own district representing us, and
Yeah.
if we want to support them, we should be able to donate to them. We shouldn't have to worry that we've got billionaires from other states that are making it so impossible to be able to have a fair election because it's being bought.
Yeah, you know, we're looking at old school machine politics, but on a much grander scale than we've ever seen before.
No. you shouldn't have to have $5 million, $10 million to be able to run for office.
No.
You shouldn't.
And you know, there are ways to counteract that, but it requires a lot of hard work on the part of the candidates, getting out there, pressing the flesh, kissing hands, shaking babies, knocking doors.
Right.
But you know, there's only so much you can do in the face of the monetary onslaughts we're seeing these days.
Yes. And I think it's just ridiculous because it shouldn't be about who has the most money.
Yeah. Now, speaking of that, did you see the other thing I posted recently, and without naming names, about some fundraising events for a certain congressman?
I don't think I saw that.
Okay,
What
well,
was it about?
Well, basically, you know, a member of Oklahoma's congressional delegation is having some private meet and greet fundraiser events, and I was invited to some of them. And there was a blurb in there.
How come I wasn't invited?
I don't know, I guess you're just not big
Was
time
it
like
my
that.
district?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's not even my district, but
Okay.
but anyway,
Okay.
there's a blurb in there that says corporate contributions are not allowed. They're forbidden. I think forbidden is the word they use, but donation levels begin at $500 up to $25,000. I think that's just insane.
There's so many people that don't even make $25,000 a year
Yes.
to live on.
And
So
yeah,
donate
and
that.
to donate that to a political campaign, to a candidate, when, you know, I also get invited to various things for Governor Stitt for his, you know, re-election campaign, because I'd like to see him stick around. And my maximum annual individual contribution is nowhere near $25,000.
No. I think, isn't it,
It's more like $2,700.
I think $2,800
Yeah.
individual.
Individual, or
But,
double it for a couple.
Yes.
And
Yeah. So 25,000. Wow.
so
Again, buying the elections.
the best government
Away
money can
from-
buy, right?
Yeah.
You know, the old Mel Brooks joke from History of the World Part 1.
So again, we'll just keep it for we the people. I got a new flag coming. I hope. Trying to get the one that says we the people.
We
I
the
believe
people.
That's what it says on it. It's
Yep.
a black flag with white letters. We the people. And I want to be able to
Ooh,
carry that
black-
flag when I go do my walk.
Watch out with those. Watch out with those black flags. Somebody might think it's you know, ISIS. I mean ISIL, because it's you know, I have to correct myself. Say ISIL with an L, not with an S.
No.
We know why that S was put in there.
We the people.
Yes.
And that's what it's about. We the people.
It is. It is. And you know,
So,
I was talking with David McClain the other day,
yes.
state party chairman.
Yes.
And we were talking about some of those issues and just kind of the Democrats and the Republicans, the differences there. How, you know, Republicans are definitely still into the idea of we the people, as opposed to what you see on the other side, where it's not even about the people. It's about looking at politics as a pure numbers game and a power grab to do whatever they can, no matter what it takes, to get the numbers, to get the votes.
Great.
You know, because they need the power to push their agenda, to get, you know, X number of people across the board on a nationwide level.
Right. Right.
You know, it's not about, you know, they used to say all politics is local. Totally different from their perspective. It's all about top-down power.
And they will even take people that cross the border illegally and they will bust them or even put them on airplanes to states to try to hopefully put them in a state where they can influence the election.
Right. Well, and not only that, but, you know, we've seen these protests and rallies where buses, tour buses,
Yeah.
chartered carriages are bringing in busload after busload of person. You know, sometimes they're paid, sometimes they're volunteers, but somebody's paying for these buses to bring these people in for rent-a-crowd purposes.
Yes.
What is to keep them from doing that on the day the census taker comes around?
Oh, I didn't ever think of that.
Because, again, it's a numbers game. At the end of the day, when it comes to the census and reapportionment and representation, it's about
our troops.
we're here to support the troops.
Trump sent them over there.
Well, most of them were already there.
Support our troops. What is he?
He said you
So now
shouldn't have
it's
killed
about
that man.
Trump? So it's about Trump now?
Well, you know, he's welcomed his opinion for Amendment 1. But, you know, as I was saying, it's about number of warm bodies in a given area, state, at that time. And, you know, there are certain battleground states where a shift in representation. You know, more people in the House of Representatives. You know, it can go up over here, can go down over there, and they're looking at it strategically, top down, looking at the game board of the map of America, figuring out where to move the pieces around to play the long game. In a way that the U.S. government hasn't done since the days of Indian removal.
Well, even with the redistricting that they're trying to do.
Yeah.
To do that too.
Well, it's gotten so bad. It's at the point now where I see people, you know, respected, intelligent, good-hearted people that use the word gerrymandering as if it no longer has negative connotations.
Right.
And that's really shocking to me. That is an issue of serious concern.
The House measure passed 224 to 194 on a largely party line vote. Came amid heightened tensions between the two countries after the United States killed top
So they passed it?
Okay, so passed in the House. And is this something that needs to go to the Senate? We know what's going to happen there.
It's dead in the Senate.
It's dead in the Senate.
That's why I say it was just a partisan political ploy.
Oh, of course. It's all theater.
Yeah, it's cycle politics. It's all.
Yeah.
It
So.
looks like I'll be standing alone. Well, I got David Greene here too, but.
Oh yeah.
But that's okay.
Well,
Look,
you know,
I used to walk the streets in Edmond alone mostly,
Yeah.
so I'm okay with that.
Well, it's great that David Greene is out here. He's one of the candidates for CD5. He would like to take Representative Horn's place in the upcoming election. We'll see how things work out for him as the Republican primaries proceed.
Yep.
But
In June, I think. June 30th.
I had something I was going to bring up. Oh, what do you think about the government of Iraq basically voting and requesting that the United States forces get the hell out of their country? And a couple days later, us responding with, "We respect your sovereignty. We're going to pack up and go."
If they voted for us to be out, then I guess
Yeah.
I don't think the people are going to be liking that. I don't think that's really the people of Iraq. But again, it is their sovereignty, and they voted us out.
Right.
So I have a feeling they'll be crying for us to come back.
Well, you know, we'll see. We'll see how well they handle their own problems once we're gone. But
we have our people over there risking their lives for another country, and if they don't want us there, then they voted us out.
Well, you know, it reminds me of, I was telling David about this.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I was going to say, it reminds me, I was telling David about this. I spent 16 months in Kuwait once doing missile defense against the Persian threat. Because, you know, obviously we've seen Iran has lots of missiles, and they like to send them places, and, you know, we need to defend against that. And, you know, the troops I was there with, whether, you know, Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, whatever, you know, we knew that, you know, American freedoms weren't in the big sandbox. And we would joke with each other. It's like, hey, you're doing great things for the Kuwaitis today.
Okay.
Instead of you're doing great things for your country today, you're doing great things for the Kuwaitis today.
Right.
You know, we're a great bunch of hired help.
Right.
And I don't have a problem with it. In fact, I'm wondering if it's going to set a precedent for other countries to make similar requests, and maybe we'll finally get to bring the troops home from everywhere and get away from the war being the racket that Smedley Butler talked about.
We want to keep our sovereignty, and like our president has said many times, that to support your nation.
Yeah.
You know, support your nation.
And, you know, that's nationalism and being a nationalist, but of course certain people want to turn nationalist into a dirty word.
Right. That's because President Trump said it.
Right.
Everything, it's all the reason, it's all because of something that Trump
Yeah, you know, these are a lot of his detractors are people that would argue with him if he said that liquid water was wet.
Right, exactly. But I'm going to keep walking on the sidewalk, and unless you want to ask me anything else right now.
Oh no, that's it.
That's what I'm here to do, and thanks for talking with me today.
Oh, of course.
Thanks for coming out.
Hey, you know what? Rocking the MAGA hat. I'm on team support the troops, of course.
Thank you.
And you know, I'm probably going to go to that community office hours after this.
Yeah.
And I plan to bring up some of these issues, particularly my concerns with retirement benefits for our troops.
Is she going to be there?
She probably won't be there, but she has staffers there.
What?
And
We'll wrap up in 5 minutes.
okay. She usually has staffers there, and you know, they're generally very attentive, and I've met a number of them. I think I have a decent rapport, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Somebody got locked up.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna walk up.
All right. Get your steps in for the day.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, I made a bunch of signs, but nobody showed up to use them.
No.
Okay, America, Oklahoma. I made a bunch of signs for you, and you didn't come to use them. Who has their boots on the ground? I do. Where are you? That's my.
And I'm gonna make some comments about that right now. About at the Reagan breakfast this morning, there are people that knew about this, and the Facebook event for this, it was promoted fairly well. There are people that had responded affirmatively, indicating they had a desire to be here. Now let's compare this to the protest that they had down the street last week. I can't even remember what they were protesting for. Well, it was some of that.
The one in front of her office?
No, the one in front of Senator Langford's office.
Okay.
They had like 1 day's notice and had a crowd of like over 100 people out there chanting things and with signs and, banging on buckets and stew pots.
Okay.
And
Because
some
of what he had said, probably, right? Because of what Senator Langford had said?
Well, they don't want to protest in front of her office. They want to protest in front of Senator Langford's office because he's the opposition. And they were protesting. They wanted no war in Iran. No war against Iran, so on and so forth. And a lot of people over there were very, very knowledgeable about the history of the situation. But at the same time, they were just complete pacifists or completely anti-war, even though it can be a necessity at times. But the point I'm getting to is the right, the conservative base, the Republicans need to get out and be mobilized to the same degree as the opposition. They're beating us over the head with this.
And they will continue to do it if people are just going to sit and be on the sidelines.
What has been effective in the past is no longer so.
It doesn't do any good to sit and post your thoughts on Facebook. You're not going to get out and do something about it.
Oh, of course. And it's not even just posting stuff on Facebook. It's saying, you know what, we're not going to go out and make a presence. We're just going to work, the way we have before and kind of do things low key and behind the scenes and be nice and polite about things. And not necessarily saying fight fire with fire, but it has to be done. It has to be done. If you're not out there making a presence, you're not generating interest, you're not generating awareness for the cause.
Well, that's why I'll keep on doing what I'm doing.
There you go.
So, even if I stand alone, I'll keep doing what I'm doing.
Fantastic.
Thanks for coming out.
It's why the best thing that's happened to the conservative movement has been conservative talk radio.
Yeah.
Because they are the one venue that's really getting the word out. The Hannitys and Becks and Rush Limbaugh.
Oh yeah.
They're the ones that have really educated the populace more than anything.
And there
we
is
need to spread that.
We do.
You're exactly right in what you're saying, and we need to start taking our platforms, making conservative movies. We need to make conservative documentaries. We need conservative music.
Yeah. Anti-gangster rap.
Right. I mean, come on, Kanye, he's on the right road now,
yeah, he's on the path.
So let Kanye sing away and let the young people start going, well, what are they talking about?
What are you talking about? Generate some interest, because creating that education and putting the information out is so important, because we have such a big education information deficit in our country and in our society because of basically the way our public school system is at this point. It's in shambles.
Yes.
And it's indoctrination system.
And that's one of the reasons I want to do the flexible savings account, because that will create a vehicle where states can go into privatized schools, be able to have the vehicle to do that. Right now, if you try to just create a voucher system so a parent could take their child and go out and take them to any school they wanted to and give them that voucher, you've got to create that entire voucher system, and that's a lot of overhead. That's a lot of administration to set up. That's a difficult thing to do. But if a vehicle is already there that they could just say, you know what, we're going to take so much money and put in each student's account, and then the students' parents can spend it how they see fit. So the flexible savings account will be able to
it would be great to have more school choice, more options, more financial wherewithal for parents to take advantage of that.
Right.
And you know, and when it comes to the schools and where kids can or can't go to schools presently, it brings me back to something that just truly chaps my hide. Generally, when you go to enroll in school, they want to see some documentation, you know, utility bill, mortgage, you know, a lease, something to say that you live in that area, in that school district.
Right.
And yet, what do they do when there's illegal alien kids that want to go to school? They're not even supposed to be in the country yet. Okay, let's let them in.
Right.
I'm completely and absolutely positively opposed to that.
Well, I'm going to say something to that where I have a special needs child in school,
Yeah.
and his needs are not being met the way they should be in the
Because
school. Because they just don't have that.
Yeah.
And they are not providing what he needs as a special education student. And it's really upsetting.
I can
Very
imagine.
upsetting. Especially when I know that they have room for students that come in and don't speak English, and they'll make a classroom for them, but they're not going to do
Right.
that for my special education child that needs something different than what he's getting now because of the diagnosis that he has, to be able to help him be the best he can be and learn the best that he's able to. So, yeah.
Well, I'll just
very upsetting to me as a parent.
Yeah, I'll just throw out the bucket of ice water, tough love statement on that. They do that because collectively, they don't feel any guilt or shame over people like your children.
I feel like
They don't feel like they owe them something.
I feel like right now that he's just being pushed through the system, but he's got a strong advocate in me, and I'm not going to let that happen. I keep advocating for him, and I keep on doing what I can to change that for him.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Parental responsibility. We need more of that for all of our kids in schools. And
they know me pretty well there.
I bet they do. I bet they do. I hope you're that squeaky wheel that gets the oil.
And
There's too many parents that don't do that, and too many school administrators that usurp parental authority because of it. And even non-special needs kids get pushed through the system. Our educational system on the public side, it's a pump and not a filter like it should be. You know, they're inventing new grades for kids. You know, really, I have some friends and their kids, instead of going from kindergarten to first grade, they said, well, you know what? You're not ready for it. We're going to put you in something called T1, transition to first grade. You know, we're not going to hold you back, but we're not going to promote you either.
yeah.
And that's just bonkers.
Well, I'm that parent that they hear from me a lot.
High five.
So,
Very nice.
careful with my
Don't
flag.
drop that flag.
Be careful with my flag. Yes, I am that parent.
Bam.
And they're not done hearing from me. So,
Keep up the pressure.
All right, you ready?
can you get a picture since we're
Oh, yeah.
the only ones here?
Okay.
Can I get